Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Chernova, a postgraduate student of Tribhuwana Tungadevi. It is a pleasure and a profound gratitude to be the moderator of this great event. As we all know, climate change is real and its impact has caused a lot of problem in the livelihood of people, especially farmers. So it is very prudent as university students to discuss about the impact of climate change. We exchange ideas and see a way to provide solutions for our farmers in particular. So before kicking off for this particular session, I would like to invite the chairman of IMPAS, Tribhuwana Tungadevi University, Mosdito, to give an opening remark for this particular event. Mosdito, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Honorable Mr. Chengo, thanks for your pleasure. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night, my friends and also my participants, especially Mr. Fidelino Carvalho from Tribuana Tunggadewi University and Honorable Madam Grace Oratmangun, Master of Education from University of Lelemuku, Saumlaki. Today is a great day because we can have a discuss about the collaboration between social and also agriculture in the era of 5.0. So it is important to know about the social and agriculture as the collaborations sector because social cannot depend himself by social and social sometimes connection with agriculture. So the two speakers we will talk about different aspect, especially Mr. Fidelino from Tribuana will talk about the impact of climate change in agricultural sector, and the other hand, we would like to hear the preach from Madam Erna. Grace Oratmangun will talk about the local wisdom in Tanimbar Island. So welcome for Madam Grace and also Mr. Fidelino, and we are pleasure to hear your presentation. So I think enough for my occasions, and the time and place I will give back to Mr. Sernoba. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dito, for that wonderful introduction. Now we are coming to begin the session. Once again, participants, you are all welcome. The first speaker of this particular event is going to be Mr. Fidelino Carvalho from the University of Tribuana Tungadevi. So he is going to look at the impact of climate change on the agricultural sector of Asia. As we all know that climate change is real and its impact in the agricultural sector is very huge. So without wasting much time, I will allow Mr. Fidelino Carvalho to take us through his presentation. Thank you very much once again and stay.
Okay, all the participant or audience, are you here? Are you hearing me? All of you? Hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, before I'm going to start my presentation, of course, good night, everyone. Firstly, I'm not forget to as my respect, Honorable Chairman Himpas Dito, and then second speaker, Mrs. Erna Grace, Master of Education, and then our moderator Cherno. And I welcome all of the participants that's managed your time to attend our English webinar sharing or discussion part 3 at this moment. Well, to manage the time, I just start or beginning our English webinar, which is the topic is the impact of the climate change of the agricultural sector. Well, that's I will bring that's a topic that I carried. So you can go ahead. Yeah. Well, as we know that in this age, we faced many things, which is the climate change, crisis, economic, and everything. But I want to, as my present this this moment for my presentation is I want to explore the climate change, the point of view the climate change to affect the agricultural sector. I'm not a very expertise in this area, but you know, we are as agriculture in the magister level, so that's why it is just make me curious to explore, because it's very related with the situation that in this moment and in this age, in this era. So what is climate change? Of course that we know that climate change is caused by human activity to meet their need and want. So there is it is a very essential of the climate change is human made, and then is caused by human activity. And then the other one is caused by improvement in the quality of human's life. So human always want to improve their quality of life. Of course, they will need they will want to fulfill their need and that they want. And then the next one is increasing the world population. Then the world population is every year by year, every century by century, always increasing. And then even population increasing, of course, the activity of the human also much increasing as well, followed by the increasing of the population. It will cause to exploit exploiting more or explorate more of the natural resource that the nature have. And the next one is increasing demand on the natural resource. Of course, when the population grow, population need and want is will be fulfilled by the natural resource. So as I already say that we will explore and then exploit more natural, but the natural is available or no, there's a problem. Now what's the cause is will happen in the future to our grandchild in the future. And the next one is industrialization. Of course, the activity of industrialization, it will affect, or the impact of the industrialization is caused to climate changes happen. I think all of the audience have understand these things, but I just want to flesh in this. So, and the next one is excessive in exploration and exploitation of resource. That is, exploitation and exploration is good, but we can if we cannot make the balance, maybe in the one moment or in the future, after 100 or maybe 1,000 years come, the nature or the earth will find their own balance to balance itself, and the impact is we don't know. Maybe will be disappearing all of us in the world, but we never know. So, and then the next one is fossil fuel emission. Very common is the fossil fuel emission is very contributing much, very highly contribute to the gas emission. So, and then the next one is greenhouse gas emission as well. greenhouse gas emission is also very impact to cause the climate changes happen. And then the next one is increasing to CO2 emission, and then deforestation as well. Of course, we know that deforestation is some kind of exploration or exploitation to the nature, but we cannot renewable the forest that we are deforestation. And then the next one is increasing in the average of the global temperature. Of course, all of the activity that I already explained will be provocate to increasing in the average of the global temperature, or make the temperature going high, and extreme weather as well, drought, less rainfall, flood, and then glacier north and south poles are shrinking. There's a very kind of when the glaciers north and the south poles are shrinking. It is something will happen in the future, but we never know. Okay, let's explore. Okay, next one. Moderator, can next slide, please.
Okay, sorry for the.
That's okay. Yeah. Well, we are going to Asia. Just next, please. Lito, please. Oh, yeah, Asia. ASEAN or Asia. ASEAN, as we know, ASEAN was the founding of ASEAN began with a meeting of 5 ranger ministers representing South Asian country. The ASEAN meeting was held in Bangkok, Thailand, from 5 until 5 of August 1967. The ratification on the founding of ASEAN contains in the Bangkok Declaration of what is also now as the ASEAN Declaration. The first is when we look at the symbol in the ASEAN is symbolize the dream. Is a rice. Is the bunch rice of is a bunch of rice in Asian symbol. They symbolize the dream of Asian founders. The rice image symbolize the prosperity, well-being, fertility, and wealth, which are the hope of Asian member countries. Sorry, Dito, can you focus on that, please? Fertility, weather, which are the hope for the Asian member countries. If count the line, there are 10 stand of the rice representative of 10 Asian members in unity of solidarity. But the purpose of the stabilizing ASEAN, basically, the main aim of stabilizing ASEAN is to create a prosperous Southern Asian region, peaceful, safe, and stable. And we can see that the others in the image that we can see there's a 10 country which is in Asia, Asian member, but we can see also the population is dominated by Indonesia, which is 272 million. 248 million people, and then the second is Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and the others is not very much. There is a population and the country by the country of all the ASEAN members country. So we can see here. Maybe Dito, you can next, because from all of the Asian member country, there are 5 countries that are the largest rice producer in the Southern Asian region, which can help meet the rice need of the other country, which is Vietnam. As we know, Vietnam is the first. Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, and Myanmar. There is 5 countries which is producing rice. As we see, the Vietnam is in the first rank. Thailand is second. Indonesia is the third, and then Philippines is fourth. But I just want to add some more things that Asia, Southern Asian country is only Vietnamese, Thailand. They are, do a reciprocal marketing in the rice production and rice market. But the other side, in Asia, in the region of Asia, not ASEAN, but Asia, we see the Bangladesh, India, as well as Vietnam and Thailand as well. They are producing rice very high, very dominating in the market of the high. They are larger production. But as we know that India already make the regulation to reducing the stock of export rice, especially in basmati rice, is already doing. And then Vietnam, I just update in some article, and then that say that the Vietnam will be reducing also their rice, the volume of the rice export in 2027. So we will see what is we will see, and we will feel what is the cause what is the impact if they are reducing. So we will see and we will feel in the future, and then we will discuss if someone will have a question about that. Okay, next please. Yeah, first related to our topic is agriculture. As we know, that agriculture is an activity of utilizing biological research carried out by humans to produce food, the industrial raw materials, or energy source, as well as to regulate their living environmental. And then the agricultural sector has several subsectors, of course, including this is for food crops, fisheries, forestry, livestock, and plantation crops. All of the subsector of agriculture, it is we can say that this is as an agricultural activity, it's very related with the nature, very related with the temperature, very related with the soil, very related with the weather, and then in this age, after the we are living the age of the global trade like this, global trade, global liberation, global trade. Of course, the demand for the sector of agriculture is very high, but sometimes the production from the agriculture itself doesn't fulfill the demanded high. And then what is the cause? It will happen. We will discuss about if someone have a question. Okay. Next, please.
Sometimes it hangs. I'm sorry, but I tried to.
Okay. So
I don't know what the computer is, so I'm sorry.
It's okay.
This.
Yeah, never mind. Please, can you go to next, please? Next slide. So.
Susah banget ya ini.
Sorry, my presentation as well. Not really, maybe not really good. That's why your computer doesn't go ahead. Okay. Next, just go to the 6, please. 6 slide.
Okay.
Slide 6. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. From the agricultural and then ASEAN and then climate change that we already explain or explore to all of your audience. So there is I want to show several relevant theory that interesting with this topic. It is just 2 theories that I want to show to use to your audience, all of your audience, which is the first theory is a Malthus theory. the theory that the Malthus theory state that the supply of the supply of the food cannot keep up with the growth of the human population, inevitably resulting in disease, famine, war, and calamity. What did Malthus predict about the population growth? Malthus predict that natural population growth will inevitably outpace agricultural output, ultimately resulting in the famine and other catastrophes until the population was reduced below a sustainable level. So that means that even population grow very highly, but the food supply doesn't follow the increasing of the population, doesn't follow the increasing of the population. In the future, or in the one moment, population is population. The population will be fell down. It's himself. The growth of the population will be fell down itself. So you guys can see in the graphic that in the side of the graphic, as we can see that the population and then food supply, time, and then we can see that the color of the food supply is even in the down of in the color of the food supply is always always in the top of the population growth. But if the population growth is grow highly than the food supply, one day the population in the one point is that the Malthus called that at the point where population reaches its limit of the food supply, where will be war, famine, and disease. War can happen, or famine, or disease. So, and then this will go back to the one moment, go back to the sustainable level. So there's a theory of the Malthus, but we don't know it will happen in the future or no, or it's already happened or no, we never know. So we all students, so we can explain. Okay, in the other theory, it is from economic Kuznets curve, or AKC theory, which is this theory say that climate change is currently occurring as a result of various human activity to meet their needs. This phenomena explain that the economic curve theory, according to this theory, state that a country will prioritize economic growth and ignore environmental problem. As a result, as an increase in the income will be accompanied by an increase in the pollution. Furthermore, pollution will decrease along with a continued growth in the line with social control and government regulation. So, and in the economic Kuznets theory, say that country will prioritize economic growth. So countries just prioritize economic growth and ignore environmental problem. As a result, it will be accompanied by increase in pollution. But government also have to make a regulation to control the pollution that's happened. Maybe in this age, especially in Asia, which is as we all know that population always increasing, and then economy of the ASEAN as well going, gain or going increasing. But in the practice, how can we control all the things to decreasing our pollution? Is will the regulator or who make policy is responsibility to follow the international organization or all the commitment of the international level, such as like UN development SDG, as we all know, the SDG goal, Sustainable Development Goal, and also the Paris Agreement So I think all of the ASEAN countries already follow the goal of the international organization. So maybe in the future we can see and we can feel how the climate change in Asia is performed. Is going or always going increasing or decreasing. We will see in the future, because all of the governmental or all of the policymaker already follow the concern of the international organization. So next, please. Yeah, the impact of climate change on agricultural sector. Sorry, I'm not doing the research, so that I cannot give you the result of research, but I just give some research that some scientific doing. So I just show or bring the research to show to all of us, but I'm not bring a result of one research or one project or one report as my research. I'm sorry for the audience. So the first, but it's not a problem. It's not limiting us to explore and then to learn together. So the first, the impact of a climate change of agricultural sector in ASEAN. Currently, the most significant factor influencing agricultural productivity is climate change. Regarding the impact of climate change on agricultural production, climate change occurred after the release of the greenhouse gas in the atmosphere due to the global warming. In relation to climate change, on the most important sector is the agricultural sector. Countries in Asia region have a great potential for the impact of climate change, disturbance, and disaster such as El Nino, La Nina, earthquake, tsunamis, volcanic eruption, hurricanes, flood, tropical storm, landslides, and then CO2 emissions. The Asian Secretary noted a progressive increase in CO2 emission level around 61% from 2014 to 2025. More than 90% of transboundary has come from the expansion of large-scale commercial plantation, the accumulation of the plastic waste and household waste that cannot be properly recycled. So that we can note that Asian Secretary noted that progressive increase in CO2 emission level of around 61% from 2014 to 2025, more than 90% of transboundary has comes from the expansion of large scale of commercial plantation. So there's a prediction, but we will see. Okay, so the other one is increase in the CO2 emission in each country. The reduction in the impact of the agricultural export on greenhouse gas emission underline the potential hidden effect of the trade-related emission between 2000 till 2018. NAFTA was encouraged while EFTA, ASEAN, and Mercosur reducing emission growth. The USA, China, and Russia have the highest responsibility in controlling climate change. The finding relate that the limited progress and implementation of the climate trade policy and agricultural related emission in non-EU country. So there's also some state which I took from some researcher. So we can conclude that the USA, China, and Russia, they are very responsibility to the climate change, because as we know, they are a very, very big country or giant country, which is playing many of the economic things in this world. So they have to responsibility climate change, and they do it already. And the third is increasing CO2 emission are large for the economic of the Association of the Southeast Asian Nation or as ASEAN. which face the challenge of the environmental degradation, despite having abundant natural resources as a strong economy performance. Lian and Schmidt report that the rapid economic growth of Asian countries, increasing fossil fuel consumption, terribly causing high level of pollution and CO2 emission. Current research emphasize that increasing energy consumption has increasing environmental degradation. Therefore, increasing CO2 emission make the Asian region increasingly vulnerable to the challenge of the climate change. So we can note that Asian country has an economic growth of Asian country, but increasing fossil fuel consumption also very high and terribly causing high level of pollution, CO2 emission. Based on that, we can remember that maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago in some news that we can see that Jakarta as well, Jakarta is very polluted. Jakarta already polluted. Maybe that's an effect from the climate change or human activity, but we never know. And not all of the Jakarta, but like Singapore city as well, polluting. Because as we all can know that our consumption for the fossil fuel in Asia comparing to the other country like Europe, like maybe Japan, but I was exploring some journal or some article that in Asia that's very success to focus on renewable energy and then success in reducing the pollution or gas emission is only Thailand. Thailand is very concerned about it. So next, please. Maybe yeah. Before I'm going to explain that what's adaptive action that we can do as a refreshing moment. I want to moderator or controller play the video. Maybe it's take maybe not two minutes, so we all can see together. Is Mr. William. He is a owner or founder of the price suit, Earth price suit. So can who's controller, you can play the video, please?
Of the many wonders of the natural world that surround each of us every day, it is only from space that we can fully comprehend the gift that is our home. Earth holds such splendor and gives us many things: beauty, curiosity, joy, but most importantly, Earth gives us life. For too long, many of us have taken for granted everything our planet gives us. We have polluted our atmosphere and our oceans and destroyed many unique habitats. This year, we have seen the influence of climate change like never before, with record high temperatures and extreme weather events causing devastation across every continent, affecting people's health and livelihoods. The urgency needed to save the planet is ever accelerating, while the time we have to make meaningful changes is ebbing away. But just as President John F. Kennedy had faith that humankind could put a man on the moon, I have the same faith today that we can repair and regenerate our planet in this critical decade. From moonshot to earthshot, the seemingly unsolvable can be solved. The winners of last year's Earthshot Prize have already seen their solutions take giant leaps. This ingenuity and ambition from across the globe is continuing to inspire others. And tonight in Boston, the search to find, celebrate, and scale the next 5 inspiring Earthshot winners continues. Solutions that will protect and restore nature, revive our oceans, clean our air, build a waste-free world, and fix our climate. The ambition and innovation of tonight's 15 finalists will help put the world on a path towards a stable climate, where communities, nature, and oceans thrive in harmony. Together, we can achieve a sustainable future for generations to come. Together, we will change the future of our planet.
Okay, so thanks, Mr. Dito. That's already playing the video. So what William said, that together we can fix our planet, or we can change our planet. So is this possible? So we can change? It depends on our action, and depends on how we care and how our government care and how we are influencing to each other to, taking care for the environmental or for the issue that's happened in our air, because we also have to care for our grandchild in the future and our generation in the future. Well, so from the explanation or what I already explained in the previous, there is some adaptive action that we need to do, especially in the agricultural sector. The firstly is adaptation and mitigation. Of course, even the event of the climate change already happened and exists in our activity of in agricultural sector. Of course, we need to adaptate, because the big problem is not a small problem, so we can fix in our land or our, our garden or our village, but it is a big problem, and then we cannot control it. And we cannot control a fix in just 1 year or 2 years. This will take a long time. So we just need to make adaptation and then mitigation. And then as an actor of agriculture, even in the one day we are going to be actor of agriculture, or now we are as a student or academics. Of course, we have to, do some research to, teach or enrich the farmers or agriculture who's the actor of agriculture as their paradigm about what is adaptation and mitigation. And then the next one is implementing sustainable agriculture. Of course, we need to implement a sustainable agriculture, because sustainable agriculture is very important and is very very common to implement it, because we have to consider the nature, and then we are live together with the nature and then plant it with the nature. It is a sustainable agriculture. And then next one is use technology in managing agricultural business, and then manage temperature rise, smart farming, increasing agricultural labor productivity, improve the education of agricultural business actor, changing consumption patterns, changing consumer lifestyle, consider the threat of climate change in every action we take, increase the use of renewable and sustainable good and energy. So there's a action that we can do. So I think that's what I'm going to presentate, or there's an adaptive action that we can do. So the audience can read by themselves. And then the next one, maybe finish. No, finish. Next one. The next one. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the next slide is we need to care for. We need to care for, and then present the. Dito, are you right? Yeah. So the next one, the next word that I want to tell to the audience is we need to care for and preserve this planet if we care about our children and our grandchildren. Thank you very much for all of your attention. And thank you, Mr. Dito, as well. So all of the audience, that's what I'm going to present to you. And then that's what I prepare. Maybe it's not very good as your expectation, but that's what I explore. I'm not doing the research and bring the results, but I am still begin to explore. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Fidelino, for that wonderful presentation. It was indeed very wonderful. It was insightful, and it's backed by so many references from research that have been conducted and come up with conclusion. So we have seen that it is evident that climate change has negatively impacted on our life and our livelihoods. So a collective actions from individuals, stakeholders, universities, governments, and business actors is needed in order to preserve our climate. So there are various facts that were being mentioned. So for the sake of time management, we are going to withhold for now and continue with the second presenter. So if you have questions, please, and comments for Mr. Fidelino, you can note them down and we will go through them during the discussion session. Mr. Fidelino, once again, thank you for that wonderful presentation. It was indeed very insightful and very informative. So without wasting much time, I would like to call on the second presenter, Miss Erna Grace, looking at the social and agricultural connection, especially in the G5 level. So, Miss Anna or Madam Anna, please, the floor is yours. We are highly delighted to have you here as one of the presenters. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the time that given to me. Well, before I'm starting my presentation, I'm going to make sure that everyone here can hear my voice clearly.
Yes, we are here.
We can hear you, Prof.
Okay, well, okay. The first thing that I'm going to say is, of course, I'm going to say thank you for the association that invite me as a speaker, second speaker today. And the theme that is given to me is about local wisdom of Tanimbar Island. And we will talk about the social and also the culture of Tanimbar Island. Okay, well, when we talk about the local wisdom of Tanimbar Island, of course, we were going to talk about the social, the society, and also the culture itself. So, Mr. Rito, can you move to the next slide? Yes. The first thing that we have to understand is about social. And social refers to the relationship between individual or groups in society. So the society encompasses or refers or consists of people who share the mutual beliefs, values, and also the way of life. And when we talk about society, of course, we will talk about the cultures. The cultures refers to a set of beliefs, practices, learned behavior, and moral value that are passed on from one generation to the other generation. And then culture, as we know that culture is something that helps us differentiate about one society from another. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Actually, I prepare a lot of PPTs, so I think everyone here should be patient. Next, we will talk about Tanimbar text, context, and social cognition on social and the culture. Please, next. Yeah. The first thing that we are going to talk about the social and culture is, of course, the history. I'm going to share a little bit about the history of Tanimbar Island. And of course, this history based on the sources that written on some books, on some article, or on some journals. Okay, next to the next point, the next slide. Okay, if you see this slide, you will see that the background of this slide is about the people, and also there are some house or something, that the building or something like that. The history of Tanimbar Island began with the arrival of the European explorers to the island, and which occurred, after Dutch took control of Maluku in the beginning of the 15th century. And on the book of, let me check, on the book of the art and culture of Southeast Moluccas Island, Nico de Jong and the Tools van Dijk as the writer stated that Tanimbar Island and some other islands in the south and southeast of Maluku, such as Kei, Aru, Damar, Sumatra, and you call them as forgotten islands. So Tanimbar is also one of the forgotten islands in Maluku. Next. Okay. Here is the short description. The first arrival of Dutch in Tanimbar Island is recorded in the East India's archives as taking place based on the source in 1623. And also, Governor General of the Dutch East Indies, it's about 1619 to 1623. Jacques Pax wrote about the condition of small ship named the Moose, which returned from Tanimbar was in very bad condition, and it was thought that it had been attacked by the people of Tanimbar in the harbor. Okay, could you kindly move to the next page? Okay. And also in the other source, we can find out that John Peterson Cohen, on his way back to Banda, it's Ban, but actually I mean Banda, in 1636, from a visit Australia, had the opportunity to visit Tanimbar Island, and at the same time, Tanimbar Island was claimed to be a part of the Dutch East Indies in 1646. Well, we continue. As you see that my background, as everyone see that my background is about the waves motifs. Waves motif of Tanimbar Island. I'm truly proud of being a Tanimbarnese. Let's continue. And also, Adrian Dorsman, the representative of the highest level of leadership of the Dutch East Indies and VOC, signed a contract or trade agreement with Orang Kaya in Tanimbar, was took place in Rumyaan village or in Fordata Island. And it turns out the trade contract didn't profit the Dutch and VOC, so they allow trade access to merchants from Makassar, Bugis, Banda until the end of the 18th century. Next. In 1882, the officially Dutch possessed a government office in Tanimbar, and 1896 to 90. That's several villages such as Kamatubun, Olele, Trunyaan to stop the squabbles among the people of Tanimbar and to demonstrate that supremacy. And Father P. Drabe, and I see in his book, had 11 Pandan Tanimbares in 1940, published in Leiden, stated that Tanimbar Island are believed to have carried out trade in the form of bartering between villages as well as between islands, including traders who came from outside of Tanimbar. So these are the little bit description about the history of Tanimbar Island. Continue. Okay. When we talk about history in here, Tanimbar, of course, it relates to the role of missionary. So this part will give information about the role of missionary in Tanimbar. Okay, the first thing is the spread of Protestant Christianity took place in 17th century along with VOC. So the first religion that has place in Tanimbar is Protestant Christianity. And in 1825, as described in the book of Ethnography Tanimbar or Kehidupan Orang Tanimbar di zaman dulu, there are several communities already received Christian change, and there are several names was recorded to be the Dutch missionaries, such as Hendrik, Luyker, Bar, and also Dommers. And records stated that many missionaries eventually left Tanimbar in 1841 because there are mengayau. Mengayau is a tradition of decapitating the fat of an enemy and bearing that as a trophy back to their home villages. As in here we call it potong-potong kepala, but I don't know about in Java, but in here is very very dangerous. Next one. Okay, and also after Protestant, Catholic in Tanimbar was introduced for the first time by Father Dr. Matthias Neyes, MSc, under the Prefecture Apostolic Netherlands, on September 1910, Father Joseph Clark MSc and Edward Cooper MSc landed at Waitole Beach in the land belonging to Lauran and also Sipan. Okay, next. So we can see the picture. Father Zegers took a picture with small group of olive in Lauran or Sifnana. The next one, if we see this, the background of this site, I mean the picture, this slide, we can see a bug shaped body of the people of Tanimbarese. They are athletic people who are very well behaved, and also all the people that we saw in the island were handsome. So were handsome and then gentle, tall, applied with well-formed bodies, and the men look regal in their feature. Majority of them were tall, well-shaped bodies around 11 feet or 181 centimeters, but there were also some who were more than 6 feet or 183 centimeters. Okay, and also their skin is really soft and smooth, is beautiful brown in color, but among them can be found individuals with very dark skin. They stand out of exception to the dominant color. Okay, well, let's move. Okay. This woman is a representative of Tanimbarese. And the men of Tanimbar only wore loin clothes or take in Yamdena language. And if you see the traditional clothes of this woman, we can say that while the woman would wear sarongs, which were called tais. In here, we call tais as sarong, or sarong was made from woven fiber of the palm leaves. It was called aloan. And also, it is possible that Makassar and Bugis people came to trade clothing. And also, can you please next slide? Okay. Let's see the expression of the beauty was also demonstrated the use of yeah, I already prepared some things here, and I'm going to go. The earrings is like this one earrings. Everyone can see the earrings. I don't know that. Yeah, this one. Okay, this one. Earring in Dana language are called that or so in it's also called with language. And earring, this one can you see Milito? I know that you are going. This one is usually made from gold or silver and beads from these materials. It's from gold, yeah. The next one, and okay, let's see. If we see the map in Tanimbar Island, there are 5 local languages. So we have 5 local languages such as Yamdena, Fornapa, Selaru, Selpasan, and Tin language. So because I'm from Selaru, so I know a little bit about Selaru language, but not really much. Okay. Next is for a long time expression through art and tradition dances also has also been developed among the people of Tanimbar art. It's like we call the song, the traditional song is farforo. Farforo. I don't know if some participant here know about farforo, or it has full meaning of a various situation. And the process, we call it unlying. So the singer be known as a taken or tuken. Forum is a lyric of song. And the verses, we call it unlying. And also the singer, we call it. Okay, so the song, actually the song expresses friendship and also love and yearning. Okay, let's move. Okay. This slide tell us that besides its use for expression, tradition, and everyday life, poetry, and songs are also used in the past to solve disputes between villages, besides physical combat and going to the battle. Usually, a competition was held between certain villages, so this competition consisted of rhyming couplets, which were used to tease, or we call it fakafal. Okay. Okay, next one we see the history. Let's move on to of Island. Okay. Island. First one is about Duan Lola. I don't know that everyone, yeah. I think people in Java, they don't know about Duan Lola, but I'm not sure about people in Maluku. I think only Tanimbar, Tanimbarese, no. about Dunolat. So Dunolat is a kinship of relationship system that based on traditional customs of Tanimbar society, and the meaning and philosophy of Dunolat is not just about kinship, but also about respect and status in custom, and it is also a system that reveals its person's role in everyday life. So Dunalat is a form of relationship that is interconnected, like soil and rain, and protecting the fertility and life of plants. So Dunalat for Tanimbar is, or Tanimbar Island, is really important. Okay. Another explanation about Duan Lolat is Duan Lolat as the highest form of custom regulation, where birth and life is based on the rights and mutual responsibilities between the giver and also the receiver in all sorts of aspects of the multi-dimensional life of society. Also, Duanulat is part of local wisdom of the people Tanimbar that is well preserved. Okay, let's move to the next one, the other local wisdom. Okay, the other local wisdom in Tanimbar is still, or we call it sasi. People in Tanimbar call it sasi. Sasi, which is forbids the taking of certain commodities, and sasi will be lifted if the elder announces that the sasi is over, and the commodities that are usually regulated by sasi include coconuts, certain fish, sea oysters, sea cucumbers, and also palm leaves, or we call it as lontar. Okay. Yeah, this one is very interesting to talk. Okay. About social cognition, let's move to the social cognition, or perspective taking. If I'm not wrong, this traditional clothing, traditional clothing worn by Mr. President, our president on August, when giving a speech, if I'm not wrong, at the MPR building or something like that. So Mr. President wore the traditional clothes by Tanimbar, from Tanimbar. Okay, let's move. So let's see the creativity of Tanimbar. The form of creativity still exists until now, and which demonstrates the superiority of the region. Okay, next. Okay, let's discuss about this one, or let's I'm going to explain about this clothes, this part of the clothes. Saumlaki. Okay, I have Saumlaki here. Can everyone see Saumlaki? Oh my. Okay. It's decoration that plays on hat made by paradise bird. I think it's also in Tanimbar we call it as Somalai, but also in Papua they use the Somalai also, but I don't know the name of Somalai in Papua, but in here we call it a Somalai. The next one is Tata Baulun on the hat. It symbolizes bravery, greatness, and strength of a leader. Here, the soldier or head of culture. The next one on the neck, Sinune, Somalai, or it's a necklace. It's a necklace, and also the other one is Lufu Sinune, or stole. Motif is, actually there are so many motifs of waves, but this kind of motif is fadur or diverse motifs. And the next one, the big one is, we call it wangpar. Wangpar is gold decoration that have on the breast. I have also this one here. Oh wait, let me take it and show to everyone. This one, I don't know that you can see. Oh yeah, this one is clearly. So it made by the gold. Okay. The next one is umban. Umban is is a piece of woven cloth tied around the loins that is used in adat ceremony. So we use umban every ceremony in Tanimbar. Okay, let's see. Let's see the next one. Okay, yeah. Okay, I prepared 3 women wear the clothes, Tanimbar ikat clothes. Okay, this Tanimbar ikat clothes has its own characteristic, although it looks quite simple, and there are a variety of motifs according to the needs. Well, actually, I'm right now in one of the store, call it Glora store. And in Glora store, they provide all the Tanimbar ikat clothes. So these motifs include tais matan, tais taklili, tais andai, tais marin topik, and a lot of motifs. And also, several of these motifs that are characteristic its people have done. So I think around 47 motifs of Tanimbar ikat cloth. Okay, and the other one, the next one is about wood carving and metal processing. Okay, please next to the next slide. Okay, okay. The ability of the people of Tanimbar to sculpture or carve has been present for a long time ago. So I'm going to, okay, this one. Yeah. Okay, we call it wood carving. This one is one of the wood carving. Actually, not everyone here can make wood carving, but yeah, it's a symbol of Tanimbar. Okay, next one. Okay, besides working with wood, the people of Tanimbar were also talented in working with gold, silver, and copper. Like people who build houses and carve, the work of goldsmith and can only be done by certain people. And goldsmith usually were helped by the kukue, small statues of the spirits of the ancestors. And according to the legend, gold is obtained from Makatian. Makatian is the name of a place in Tanimbar and a village of the west coast of Yamden Island. This legend tells about golden snakes. Okay. Okay, that's all about the presentation of Tanimbar Island, and I hope that everyone here can understand. And also, after this, maybe if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask, and and I will give information more about Tanimbar. Thank you. And now I give the time back to Mr. Cherno as a moderator. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Grace, for that wonderful presentation. It was indeed interesting for you taking us through the culture and the tradition of that particular island. So it was educative, and some things were very new to me, but I believe it might not be very new to your fellow Indonesian citizens. So that brought us to the end of our presentation, and we are grateful and very delighted having you here being with us. And thank you for your precious time and all the efforts that you have done in order to see that this particular event is a reality. We are grateful. Once again, thank you very much for joining. So now that's brought us to the end of the presentation. So we go into the questions and answer sessions. Yeah, please, if you have any question, if you cannot use the mic to speak, then you can write down your question in the chat box so that the presenters will be able to see your questions and they will be able to address them. As well as if you have any comment to make, you can use the same procedure. Thank you, guys. I think we have Fidel Da Costa, who have a question. So Fidel, the floor is yours.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chenova, for your opportunity that you given to me. But first of all, I want to ask, I don't forget to say my greeting to everyone. Good evening. So just now the presentation from Fidelino and also Mrs. Erna is very interesting. That's why I am very glad to ask them. So firstly, my question is referred to Mr. Fidelino's topic just now is about climate change in Asia. So Mr. Fidelino, please let me to ask you. My question is, how is your perspective about electric transport manufacture? Is it one of the alternative solution to minimize the pollution that get impact for climate change? Even we hear some issues that is also an alternative solution for climate changing, but until now that manufacture is I can say that it is limited. How about your perspective about that? So my second question is related to Mrs. Erna's topic, is about local wisdom of Tanimbar Island, or about social or agriculture or the traditional. Just now is very interesting about the traditional wearing, and also just now I saw on the PPT the president of Indonesia also wearing about traditional wearing from Tanimbar. So please let me to ask you, Ms. Erna. My question is, some issues say that when any country or any village is still strong with their culture, is have an impact for their economy, and also they cannot adapt the global situation. How about your perspective about that, especially in Tanimbar? Their culture is very unique, but how about the culture to contribute their economy in their daily life? Thank you. That is my question.
Okay,
Time
thank
and
you,
opportunity.
Fidelino. Sorry, Fidel. Those were two questions that were directed to the various presenters. So I believe the first question was directed to the first presenter, which is Fidelino. So I will allow Fidelino to give his answer to your question. Then we proceed to the second presenter. Thank you.
Well, okay, thank you, Mr. Cherno. Let's give me another opportunity again to answer a question from Mr. Fidel da Costa. Thank you. Fidel da Costa asked me a question about my perspective about electricity transportation. It is a solution to reduce carbon emission for anticipation climate change. This is your question, is it, Fidel? Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, of course, there are many things that Asian country, or not only Asian country, but European, America, and all of the world, the country, do the many things do and explore many of the innovation to prefer to renewable energy, to reducing and then to consider the climate change impact, to reducing the CO emission based on Paris Agreement, which is a Paris Agreement is very concerned and then challenge all the government and then challenge all the country to reducing the global average temperature, which is already going high, more than 2%. To based on the Paris Agreement, it is to encourage or to challenge the other country or the government to reduce it till 1.5% to before the pre-industrial level. But as my perspective is, the problem is in Asia is, as we know that Asian country, most of the Asian country is not a developing country, but is just it's not a developed country, but it's just going to the developing country. For example, like Cambodia, Indonesia, it is just going to be a developing country. Comparing to the developed country or negara maju, it is very different because their economy is to support them. So that like electrical or renewable transportation, they can buy it and they can use it. Comparing to in Asia, it is a little bit difficult because our behavior and then our utilization, it is we already utilize the non-electrical vehicle as like motorbike or car, which is use fossil fuel, fossil fuels, but it is a little bit hard. So that as we can update some news, for example, in Jakarta, in Indonesia already give the subsidy to the company who is producing the electric motorbike. before they launch, firstly they launched their electric motorbike is going 10 juta, bahkan 12 juta, sorry. And then government subsidy their company to reduce the price of to sell, so that they sell in the market is 7, 8, 6 juta, 75 dan 78 juta. But the customer to demand for the electric vehicle is not significant. And then in the other side, as an Indonesian case, in the other side, Indonesian government also subsidy the fossil fuel energy. It is contrast, but you know it is all the things is economic things, and then you know taking care for the economy as well. So there's many like a dilemmatic situation. So that the Paris Agreement to reducing the carbon emission is many dilemmatic situation for every country, not only Indonesia, not only Indonesia or not only Singapore or not only Malaysia, not only Thailand or Vietnam, but all of the country. But this is challenging us. It's slowly, but we can do it to taking care for our earth and then our nature. But all the government is still concerned to do it. When we say that the government do something, is not do something or do some regulation, do some policy, it's not happen in 2 or 3 years already. The result will come, but it will be take time, a little bit time, and take a longer time. Year will be changed, and we will see maybe in the future the carbon reduction or the contribution of carbon reduction. This will be a decreasing in the future, because all the government already have a commitment to reduce it. Okay, that's what I can answer about about your question. I hope you understand, or you have a feedback. You can feedback so I can clarify more. Thank you for your question. Time I give back to moderator.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Fidelino, for that brief and short answer. As you said, climate change is very common, but there are 2 main, strategies that can be put in place by stakeholders to reduce the impact of climate change. In your presentation, you talk about adaptation. How are we going to adapt to climate change? Yeah, we need new breeds of crops and animals that can adapt to climate change. That's way of adapting climate change, and we have to adjust our lives, the way we live, in order to adapt to the realities of climate change. Or we can also employ some mitigation practices, like you said, what the government of Indonesia is doing in order to shift from fossil fuel consumption probably to renewable energy consumption. With that, we will be able to reduce the CO2 emission. And there are countries like, the US, China, Russia. They are the biggest countries that contribute to global warming because they emit more of, carbon monoxide or CO2. So they have a very big role to play, as you said in your presentation. They have the bigger responsibility in order to address climate change. So I believe those governments, should be very serious in the fight of climate change. But if you look at the fight for climate change, it is not justifiable, because what happened, countries that emit less of carbon monoxide are the countries that suffer the most. Countries that are into less production or manufacturing of electronic vehicles, those are the countries that suffer the most. But as you said, it's a collective responsibility for all of us to see what we can do in order to address climate change. So that was just a tip of an iceberg of a contribution towards your answer to that particular question. So without further ado, I will give Madam Grace the time to answer the question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cherno. I'm going to answer the question from Mr. Fadal Dakosta about the contribution of the economic system in Tanimbar Island. In fact, in Tanimbar Island, when we talk about the contribution, of course, the people here is really uphold the culture value to support the economy system here. It's like either personal or general. In here, for example, in here, almost 90, not 19, but around 70% women in Tanimbar can make weapon products. And also these products we sold or we sell to the other places, not only in Tanimbar, for example, like in Java, in Jakarta, and also the other places, and some go to international. And so the regional economy has been greatly helped by local wisdom, and especially woven fabrics, and which have become very famous in this place. I think that's my answer.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Grace, for a brief answer. So without wasting much time, I saw Dito. It's like Dito wanted to ask a question. Or Fidel, do you still have a question? Your hands is still raised. Okay. Dito, do you have any question? I saw your hands up some time back.
Yeah, I want to ask
Okay,
to
go
of
ahead.
but I saw the questions from Edward Domakubun, but yeah, it's up to you. So it's time to ask it. Okay. For the first questions, I would like to send to Madam Grace about the local wisdom in Tanimbar. So, is there any declining of local language speaker during the globalization era or in this society 5.0? Because the phenomena in several provinces in Indonesia, there are many local language which were has declining in the speaker. So maybe several factor you can explain about that. So is there any declining of speakers of local language in Tanimbar? And for the second questions, I would like to send to Mr. Fidelino about the climate change. So what is our solutions for our environment? What can we do in our neighborhood to prepare maybe the climate change, the food crisis? What can we do in our neighborhood? Maybe yeah, just like that. Okay, thanks, Madam and Mr. for the presentation, and I give back to Mr. Serno.
Okay, thank you very much, Dito, for those two questions. Now I will give the floor to Madam Grace to answer her question, then from there to Fidelino. Thank you.
Okay, the question is about declining language. Actually, in fact, as I mentioned on my PT, that my presentation, that we have five local languages that use in Tanimbar in general. So for we never to declining, we never do declining languages, because our languages, because we have five languages, so we as in here in the school or in the university also, we put those languages on our curriculum. So if we go to the schools here, or if we go to the material here that relate to the languages, we use it. We use as a material that we share in the classroom, or we share to the others. So I think we don't need to decline the languages, because it's a part of also the local wisdom in Tanimbar. I think that's my question, Mr. Vito.
Okay, thank you very much, madam, for that wonderful answer. Dito, so I guess you get the point. There is no decline in the language or the local language, as you expect the population is growing and the culture is being preserved. So obviously there will be a maintenance or an increase in the population of those speaking the local language. That's wonderful. Now, Fidelino, the next part is yours. You get the question very clearly. So try to answer it in brief or as much as possible so that we will give other participants the opportunity to ask their question. So it
Okay.
is getting late.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chinova. And then thanks, Mr. Dito, for your question. As I note that your question is, what is the solution or what can we do for our neighborhood related to the climate change? Is it like this, is it?
That was the question.
Okay. Well, before I'm going to answer the question, can moderator, can you or who's control the PowerPoint? Can you show me the? Can you show in the slide the last of no the 8 before the last topic 8? Yeah. Can you press in here, please? Okay. So there's we do is adaptive. What we do is adaptive action, but related to our neighborhood. The firstly, we all the country is the firstly they have to think about. If I speak in the country, the neighborhood, like our neighbor country. The climate change is even in the future. Climate change is very extremely. It is not live one country is going to good, which will affect every country. The problem is if we want to help. But if we already fix it ourselves or no, that's a question. For example, in Asia, one biggest river which is support the agricultural sector in Asia is a Mekong River in Asia. It is support the agriculture of the 5 countries, which is Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand as well. But if something happened in this river, the food supply chains in Asia will get a trouble. Maybe in the future, even climate change is extremely happen, and then Mekong River is, for example, is flooding or drying. All the country in the ASEAN is get trouble. The food supply system is get the trouble. That's my perspective. But compared to the Indonesia, of course, we know the Indonesian soil is a volcanic soil and very good. But even in the future, the impact of global change is going extremely. For example, Indonesia, but Indonesia also have a population very high. That's, of course, they have to think about their population firstly, because as we see that in the World Bank indicator. The Indonesian population, the most of Indonesian population is located in the urban, in the city. That's very highly. Of course, in the city, they don't have land to plant, but they depend on the rural farmers. Do the rural farmers is still can fulfill the demand of the demand of the agricultural food from city. Of course, the question is, of course, we cannot, because the much more people in the city, they need food to supply from the rural, but the rural also get a challenge, for example, climate change itself. And then we see the characteristic of the Indonesian farmers, for example, is they are not a big, they don't have a big land of agriculture for their plantation area. And in the some data that I explore, the most of Indonesian agriculture is depending on their land is no more than maybe no more than half of a hectare that they have. That is even climate change doesn't happen. Some of the half of the hectare of the one family have it, and then they used to their consumption as well is not enough. Maybe sometime comparing to the like a European, Australian, or Chinese, they do that. The farming is like a corporate farming. They do as a big business, so they can manage it. They can invest more as a using, using smart farming, using technology. But in Indonesia, it is maybe happen, but it's the characteristic of the farmers or land sometimes doesn't support. As we see that in Jokowi era is very good and very very proactive with the situation. For example, the Jokowi era or government of the Jokowi already do some food estate in Kalimantan and in Maluku. But the progress is, we are not discussing about the progress, but the Jokowi is responsive with the situation. That's we are applause of that. So it is a sum of the kind to anticipate. But related to your question, adaptive action is very important. For example, adapting and mitigation, implementation, sustainable agriculture, use of technology in managing agricultural business, and manage temperature rise, smart farming, increasing agricultural labor or productivity, improve the education of the agricultural in business sector. That's a very important, because if who is the actor in the agricultural business doesn't have a education very good to related to implement the sustainable agriculture, their business in agriculture is maybe is not not corresponding with the climate change. And then we have to change our consumption pattern as well. For example, as an Indonesian, most of Indonesian is in Asia as well. Most of the Asian population is our consumption. Mine consumption is a rice, but even in the future, the problem of the climate change affecting of the rice farmer, do we still do we still how can I say mempertahankan our consumption patterns? I think maybe we need to make some diversification of the consumption or something like that. And then we also need to change our consumer lifestyle. Maybe in the our lifestyle consumer, maybe for example, in India, they already some research that I explored, they already doing implementing the diet life to diet life is some kind to anticipate that even in the future the hungry things can happen. They already anticipated, but we are not in America, which is all the people is fat, and then obesity, and then maybe in Europe as well. But the problem is who is prepared themselves in the future, even there's some scary things happen, they can be survived. But we never know, because climate change is happened. Okay, that's what I can answer your question. Your question is about the neighborhood. What will be good for the neighborhood? The firstly is we have to ask, do we can help neighborhood, or do we already ready so that we can help neighborhood related to climate change? If no, fix ourselves first, and then maybe we can help other country. So that's what I'm answering. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fidelino, for that. Dito, there are so many things that you can do in your neighborhood in order to help mitigate climate change. One of those things is to plant trees. We call it tree planting exercise. As we all know, photosynthesis takes place during plant life cycle. And in that photosynthesis, the plants helps to absorb carbon dioxide, which is CO2. So the more plants we have to absorb the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, it will help to reduce global warming. That's one. Yeah, two, you can also do what we call, organic farming instead of using chemicals, chemical fertilizer or synthetic fertilizer that may degrade the soil of the environment. So you can use organic farming, and you can use materials that can be easily recycled in order to avoid pollution in the area. So, and sensitization of the local communities, how, detrimental climate change is. So those are all stuff that you can do. Just to add a few points on what Fidelino have already said. Okay, so moving to the next question, from Edward. This question is directed to Madam Grace. The question reads, what are the challenges and opportunities in preserving local wisdom of Tanimbar Island, and how to respond to these challenges? So, Madam Grace, the floor is yours.
Okay, can you hear my voice?
Can hear
So
you
the
very well.
challenge, you talk about the challenge and also the way to fulfill the challenge. I think when we talk about the challenge in introducing or preserving the local wisdom, we'll talk about how we can introduce our culture to as global to people outside, and especially for local wisdom to anyone, both national or international. And of course, for me, with support, a good support system and from various staffs of or parties, such as social media, or that everyone who has responsible to spread the information about the local wisdoms, we can spread the local wisdom to global, either national or international one. So how to respond to this challenge, and as Tanimbarnis, how we respond this challenge? If we're going to respond this challenge, better we use the knowledge to respond. It means that we can use that's what I said. We use social media to respond to the challenge. We can share this challenge. We can share the information about local wisdom through social media like Facebook, and now the very famous one, TikTok, or the other social media. That's my answer to the question of Edward Domakomo. Actually, the Edward Domakomo is my student.
Oh, okay. That's fine. That's very wonderful. Okay, thank you very much, Madam. So, do we have any other question from the participants? Any further question from the participants? Okay, Marco, Frank, yeah, you have a question. The floor is yours.
Yeah, everyone. Do you hear my voice?
We can hear you.
Do you hear my voice?
Yeah, we can hear
Because
you.
my connection. Okay, thank you. For my first, thank you very much for the time given to me. For my first question for Mr. Fidelino about adaptive action in point use of technology in managing in agricultural businesses. And my question is, because I just take agricultural businesses, and my question, that in my place there are many kinds of culinary food, and as a young man I have a plan. I have a big plan for a business, and one of the businesses make culinary food. So please explain to me, Mr. Fidelino, about the strategy for the future. Yes, about the strategy and also how to uh, how to prepare myself. Yes, how to prepare all of the maybe for uh, make the for my second question about for Miss Erna about Tanimbar ikat clothes. Yeah, my question is about the can it be creative into innovative, like making head maybe like making jazz, and also making shoes by using Tanimbar ikat clothes. Maybe you can explain to me about it. That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Frank, for your two questions. The first question is being directed to Fidelino, and the second question is being directed to Madam Gay. So, Fidelino, I hope you get the question very clearly because the network was somehow breaking, but I believe you get the question very clearly. Okay, Fidelino, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for your question, and thank you for Mr. Cherno to allow me again to answer the question for Mr. Marco Frank Lelolteria.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Certainly.
And then your question is, what is the strategy for doing business in culinary? Doing business in culinary related to the climate change. Hello?
This
Hello?
question.
Yeah, related to the climate change. Which is particularly changing the consumption patterns or changing our consumer lifestyle, is it? Hello?
Yeah. Hello?
Okay. Yeah.
About how what strategy that we use for make a business, especially like a culinary food, maybe like that.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Before I'm going to answer your question, I just want to not to explain, but tell you some history or some experience from some business, which is they make the expansion until to Indonesia as well, and then to the world as well, to the world and then Indonesia as well. In the climate change era, as we know that the climate change is ditandai, is how can I say is yeah, with a hot or cool sometime, and then yeah. So as you are a businessman, you can see that it is some gap that I can go. For example, is Misua is a one business that doing the ice cream. It is from China. They are expanding their market until to Indonesia as well. But they expand their market to the world. They are doing the most. They are doing just ice cream, but all of their raw material is from China. But their business is, what is the point in here? Their business is related to the climate change, because the climate change, every day people are going hot, Of course, they need ice. They need a cool, cool food or like a cool drink, and then they sell it. is if you ask about the strategy, that one point that I want to answer your question is your strategy. You must to learn the gap in a situation that climate change, and then climate change is preferred to the hot or cool. What is people need in the hot situation? What is people need in the cool situation? And you can do your business to answer their need in their need or they want in the situation that they feel. And then you can make your culinary is a little bit different and explore another commodity which is some other people, or is maybe if it's from the local commodity, the taste is different with the others, and then you can modify it and provide it to the market. But you have to modify them to the answer their feeling related to the climate change. That's what I can answer to your question, because your question is ask me to give a little bit extra strategy to doing for business in the culinary. So that's what I'm asking answer. Thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Fidelino, for the brief answer. Now we proceed with the second question to Madam Grace.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm going to answer Marco Frank Leluteri. He is my student. And Marco is asking about the clothing. Okay, so woven fabric actually can be made for various types of clothing, as well as hats, shoes, and bags and jackets, or we call it jas also. And Tanimbar woven clothes itself has been displayed in at the Indonesian Fashion Week, if I'm not wrong, Indonesian Fashion Week event, where the woven cloth is made into various form of clothing that have high art and also culture value. I think that's my answer for question from Marco Frank Leluteri.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam, for that brief and short answer. I can see most of your students can speak English. I'm impressed. That's a very good job. Keep it up. So due to the time difference in Malang and in the other island, Lempo Island, so we'll just be taking one more question before we call off this session. Because I was made to understand that it is already late in Lempo Island. So for that being the case, we are just going to take one more question before we call off this session. Any other question from participants?
I think all the participants. Oh wow, still Marco and Fidel.
Yeah, Fidel, you want to say something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have any question related about Miss Erna's topic just now, because I still curious to ask clearly about that. So please let me to ask Mr. Chano.
Yeah, go ahead. I believe that will be the final question.
Okay, thank you. So, Mrs. Erna, we hear some cases that happen in this in some place just now related about the local wisdom in Tanimbar Island. Just now you already mentioned that, and then the contributions for their economy, they can sell their creative or their creative traditional process to access the market. And then just now you mentioned that maybe 17% from them, but the case that now I want to mention it in the market happen, the manipulation market, when in the market, some of the company or some of the marketer, they copy paste the original traditional type of clothes, and then they can produce it very fast, and the capacity also, they can earn more the big capacity, and then they can sell it in the market is very cheap than the original type traditional clothes in the market. And how about that? How can we anticipate that so that cannot happen in the Tanimbar Island, so that another market cannot copy paste the type of cases already happen like that. Okay, thank you. That is my question.
Thank you, Fidel. So the time is. Thank you for the question anyway. So, madam, you have the floor to answer the question.
Okay. Okay, well, okay. When we talk about the copy paste of the things that original from, for example, from Tanimbar, I think that it's a violation. Of course, as we know that it's a violation. So for me, we have to terms and condition in order to make our local wisdom, such as the clothes, the waves, or something like that. So people cannot copy or cannot take our things to sell it free outside. So for me, terms and condition has to be really presented about before we promote our things. I think that's my question. So it should have strong terms and conditions, so that there is no one can claim our local wisdom originally.
Yeah, thank you very much for that wonderful answer. So that brought us to the end of this wonderful webinar. It was indeed very interactive, educative, and fun at the same time. So before hanging out, we will allow Mas Dito if he has anything to say before we close this webinar. Dito, do you have anything to say?
Nothing, sir.
Is there any group picture?
Yes.
Okay, so all right then. So thank you very much, guys. I'm hoping to see you again in another interactive and educative discussion. So before we go, please on your cameras so that we can take a group picture. Thank you.
Okay. I'll try to guide all of you. Please open your camera. I will capture the first page. Okay. Melania. Okay. Okay. The first is okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. This is for the first page. And wait for the second. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, enough.
Thank you, guys. So see you another time.
Okay, see you too, man.
Okay, see you everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Vito. Thank you, Mr. Serno. And also
Thank you very much, madam. We
Thank you, sir.
will visit you in your island one day.
Okay,
Amen.
I hope. You have to come here.
It will make the arrangement and the
I
schedule.
think Mr. Vito already planned to come here.
Yeah, insya Allah. Yeah, okay.
Amen. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.